Do you think potentially we could see higher levels? For example, in the next few months, could we go to make new highs?
For me, this is typical bearish action. Bear in mind that during bear markets, volatility goes crazy. So the biggest rallies and drops occur during bear markets. I need to see a break up above a significant price level to see, okay, now the trend shifted to bullish. But right now, the chart is bearish.
But you're saying as long as we stay below, that resistance, we have to be more cautious. There's still more risk ahead.
This is like a rubber band that is so stretched now that I wouldn't be surprised to see that the rubber band reverting.
How much lower in this correction, how much lower could we drop, do you think?
On micro strategy chart, it can be a vicious circle, because if Bitcoin drops further, then MicroStrategy is going to drop even more. It can be really what went up goes down. I hope this is not going to happen.
What's your preferred target for Bitcoin as the highest target that it might reach this year? All right, guys, hello and welcome. Joined here today by my good friend and trader Manuel Blay at dowtheory.com. In this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin. Specifically, in a recent video I published, we talked about the stock market potential impact with the Dow theory warning signal that occurred. But in this video, I want to ask Manuel Blay's views and indeed forecast for Bitcoin. Does Manuel think we could see higher levels in the next several months? Or does he think there could be more risk ahead in the next few weeks on Bitcoin and crypto? All right, guys, should be quite interesting. Join us. Okay, welcome back. Manuel, thank you very much indeed for joining me in this video.
Thanks to you, Alessio, for having me on your YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks again, by the way. Manuel told me he watches my videos. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Religiously.
I religiously, of course, read Manuel Blay's newsletter. Guys, do check it out. Special offer and discount only for you guys. In the description, there's the link. Check it out. You get both the Dow Theory newsletter for the stock market and also the crypto report he publishes as well. Manuel Blay is the new editor of the dowtheory.com, which according to the Wall Street Journal is one of the top market timing newsletters out there. Manuel, what do you think about the situation with Bitcoin? I mean, we saw both Bitcoin and Ethereum as well, both of them drop. Bitcoin dropped initially in the month of January, then had a rebound. We called the drop in Bitcoin down to 90K. In fact, I was talking with Charlie Burton recently, and both of us were calling for 87K and even the low 80s.
So yeah, funny enough, I'm looking at the low 80,000s myself.
Oh, really?
If it can pull back down to there, I think that's some good levels down there. For different reasons, I've got some trend lines and stuff down in the low 80s based on the weekly timeframes.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned the low 80s because that's not far away from the daily 200. That's the green line there in my chart, which is slowly catching up with the 82K support there. So yeah, you could be absolutely right. It could go into the low 80s. Bitcoin managed to drop down eventually to the low 80s, the low 80K level, and even to 78K. Had a nice bounce. Do you think Bitcoin has bottomed here at the lows it made in February or March? Do you think potentially we could see higher levels, for example, in the next few months? Could we go to make new highs? What are your expectations for Bitcoin overall?
It is a question of time frame. So let's talk about the short term and the longer term.
Good point, yeah.
Let's start first maybe with a big picture. The big picture is I consider Bitcoin hard money. This is true. Many people say it has no value. No. Nothing has a value, but it has utility. And so it has value because it is hard money. So I believe Bitcoin can go really very high in the long run. But of course, it's not going to be a straight line. So I think that now Bitcoin is suffering from, I suspect that Bitcoin already absorbed lots of good news. So Trump is pro-crypto, the strategical crypto reserve. And of course, all these things were absorbed, discounted by the markets. But I think that the influx of good news now is not enough to move further up Bitcoin because everything has been discounted. Look, for instance, a couple of days ago, I think it was March 4th, that Donald Trump again said, we are going to have Solana, Bitcoin, blah, 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 you name it. Then it was a dead cat bounce. It popped up, but then immediately went down. For me, this is typical bearish action. bear in mind that during bear markets, volatility goes crazy. So the biggest rallies and drops occur during bear markets. During bear markets, so bull markets, you have a more orderly way of moving prices. Okay, it goes up, down, but with less volatility. But now we are seeing insane volatility in Bitcoin, which for me, it is very bearish action.
Hey guys, before we continue, I just want to quickly mention, if you're looking for a reliable trading platform with fast execution, then look no further than Radex Markets, who is our sponsor for this video. With Radex, you can trade stocks, stock indices, Bitcoin, crypto, gold, currencies, and a lot more. You can apply for an account with Radex by going to this link, which is also in the description. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the video.
If I look at the charts in the short term being 3 months, more or less, what I see is, call it bearish action, a mitigated bear market, call it as you want, but it's not bullish. Why? Because both Bitcoin and Ethereum broke down below significant support. Why did this happen? Because we had lots of good news, Trump was elected, strategic reserve, because all this news were already baked in the price. And this is why we had a huge rally for the last 3 months. But of course, now I realize that even the news that Trump is going to create a strategic reserve, and okay, it was a pop up, but then it went down again, which for me is bearish action. Furthermore, I'm a Dow theorist, so if I look at the world with Dow theory lenses, through Dow theory lenses, what I see is that we have a bearish trend, and we always give the benefit of the doubt to the prevailing trend. So that now the trend is bearish. I need to see a break up above a significant price level to see, okay, now the trend shifted to bullish. But right now the chart is bearish, even for the next 3 months. And this is what I see.
You mentioned a specific resistance price level.
Exactly.
I think that's near 100K.
Exactly.
Just near 99,500 or 100K, there's a resistance there. I think Bitcoin would have to break that for me to be convinced that a bottom has been made. I think we would have to see a sustained break above 100K, approximately, the psychological resistance there. I think if Bitcoin can break that, then we can say there's a potential bottom. But you're saying as long as we stay below that resistance, there is still room for caution. We have to be more cautious. There is still more risk ahead of potential further declines.
Yes, and furthermore, if you look at other charts, because I'm really a fan of the principle of confirmation. So confirmation gives you lots of clues, whether it's a false move, a fake out, or is the thing is real. Look at Block. Block is an ETF that invests in companies that benefit from blockchain technology. So Block is really something tangible. There are many real companies there, and the chart is bearish. If you look at Mara or the miners, all the charts of all the miners, they are incredibly bearish charts. They are so bearish that maybe I get bullish because it hints at capitulation, because they are extremely bearish. But of course,
you're saying the charts or the sentiment is bearish? Both? What do you?
More the charts than sentiment, which is also bearish.
When you say the charts are bearish, so let me understand you correctly. Are you saying it's indicating that we could lead to further declines, further drops, or are you saying that it's a contrary indicator? That means price can go up, positive. Which one is it? I'm kind of confused.
As a trend follower, it suggests further downward price action, but it is so bearish that I wouldn't be surprised to see a dead cat bounce. So it is so bearish right now. It's like the rubber band. I explained in other videos in the past. This is like a rubber band that is so stretched now that I wouldn't be surprised to see the rubber band reverting a little bit. But of course,
makes sense.
I don't know the future. I give the bearish case the benefit of the doubt. The trend is bearish, and all miners, Block, everything that relates to the crypto space is bearish now.
I see what you're saying. You see more risk, more probability of further declines. I would say that's a good point. That I think if Bitcoin were to drop down, below the lows that were made in February, especially if it drops down below, let's say 80, I think if Bitcoin were to drop below this supporting trend line, which I'll put for people to see, there's a trend line there. If Bitcoin were to break that, and drop below it, it could and even if Bitcoin were to drop below the lows that were made in February, the recent lows, it could potentially lead to increasing risk of a further decline down. How much lower in this correction, how much lower could we drop, do you think? If support gets broken, that is.
65K, something like that.
Oh, below 70K.
Yes, I think so. And furthermore, you have to keep an eye on MicroStrategy chart. It can be a vicious circle, so a loop, a negative loop. Because if Bitcoin drops further, then MicroStrategy is going to drop even more.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They have some callable,
That's right.
some callable bonds, and this is why caution here.
Caution is important. Yeah.
MicroStrategy was a factor in driving Bitcoin price up because they were gobbling up all the Bitcoins. But if Bitcoin price drops and then drops to a level where MicroStrategy is also forced to sell because they have some bonds, callable bonds, and then it can be really what went up goes down. I hope this is not going to happen, but we should also keep an eye also on the chart of MicroStrategy.
MicroStrategy. Michael Saylor's, yeah.
I talked about that in my crypto report, and
yeah.
there are some key prices that we have to look at MicroStrategy chart.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I got two questions for you before we finish this video, and it's quite simple. Firstly, am I correct in saying that you believe that this drop in Bitcoin so far is a temporary correction before we go higher to new highs in the next several months? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And if that's correct, so if you believe it's a temporary correction, even if we drop lower, I mean, you said below 70K, even 65K potentially. I mean, for me, 74 to 70K is much more important. But you say 65K, that's fine. That's interesting as well. It's very interesting. So, okay, let's say it's a temporary correction. If we go higher to make new highs, let's say in the next several months by the summer of this year, which is what I think what you're expecting essentially. What's your ideal?
Some months. It's going to take let's say second half. What is going to be maybe bad for the stock market, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin decoupling from the stock market.
Interesting. Decoupling. Okay.
Decoupling.
Let me ask you this. So what's your preferred target for Bitcoin as the highest target that it might reach this year? I had a chat with Charlie Burton about the prospect of 200K. There are some Bitcoin analysts that were saying 250, 270K, and we strongly disagreed. We said, no, we don't think it's likely, but we could be wrong. But what do you think? What's your preferred upper target in the next, again, not now, I'm talking about later this year, in the second half by the summer of this year? How much higher could we go once the correction ends and completes?
I think at most 110, 120. But I will be able to make a better forecast once we have the lows and we know that we are in a secondary reaction in Bitcoin, because then I can use the so-called rule 7 and very accurate targets. But of course now it's falling, so while it falls, I cannot make the projections to calculate. Sure. But very early, I will be able to give an accurate projection of price targets. But while it's falling like a knife, I don't have the basis to calculate targets. So now it's more gut. And you know that I'm not a fan of gut. I'm very quantitative. But I think I don't expect more than 110 now. But
I understand.
Once we get the bottom, and I think we can get the bottom in 2-3 months, something like that, and we get the first rally, then I can make projections, and they are very accurate, and let's see what happens then.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So I'm the same way as you. I look at where the lows are, I wait for the lows, and then I calculate with Elliott wave and Fibonacci extensions, of course, as well, to work out where the potential targets are. So yes, you're right. So overall, what you're saying is that you don't think this correction on Bitcoin has ended just yet. You don't think it's bottom just yet. As long as we stay below 100K, you don't think there's a bottom just yet. So you see still more risks of a potential lower lows into lower regions in the next few weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and keep an eye on MicroStrategy.
When you say keep an eye on it, you mean look at the chart of it
look at the chart and look what happens to the bonds, because if I think it's more or less 40,000. I know but can you imagine that suddenly Bitcoin, I don't know, there is a big drop, and then this can exacerbate the drop because then MicroStrategy is in a big problem. So I think it's not going to happen, but let's keep an eye on MicroStrategy's chart.
That's
and
right.
the chart is horrible, by the way, much worse than Bitcoin's. The chart.
Oh, really?
I shared the slide with you, and it looks horrible. It's a horrible
Okay,
chart.
interesting. I'll put the chart so people can see as well. So guys, do check out Manuel Blay's excellent newsletter. I read it enthusiastically and religiously every month. I think you cover brief.
There is a crypto ladder, so there is a specific ladder for crypto as well.
So is that included in the offer as well, Manuel? Both the crypto
of course.
and
You get both. You get
both.
everything.
Great,
Everything.
fantastic. So guys, check it out. The link's in the description. Go to that link. And it's a special offer, special discount that Manuel Blay is giving you for his DowTheory.com newsletter. Check it out while the discount lasts. And again, don't miss out. The link is right there for you, again, in the description. And go on that link, subscribe. And thank you very much, Manuel. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much indeed. Cheers, guys.
Alessio, thank you.